Hello, y'all. I am back with another Watch Me Work. I just wanted to preface this. A lot of my Watch Me Works are never sped up and they're never really cut down too much, just for the sole fact that this is really how you learn. When I went back in to start practicing and learning again, like out of nail school, that's what it's going to be. You're going to sit through the entire service and you're going to watch and you're going to take your small mental notes and watch the entire full set from start to finish, no matter how long it takes. So that is why my videos are a lot longer, because I don't clip it, because you can't learn anything from a sped up video. You have to see it in real time and you have to really see the work that's going in. Here nor there, this is just going to be the application of my full set. I do feel that my work has changed just a little bit as far as how I go in with my application. Now I'm just prepping with the sanding band, a fine grit sanding band at that, just really lightly over the natural nails. Once I see that the drill bit has gone over the shine, I'm not continuously going over it. I'm moving right on and just taking all that natural oil and shine off the nails. I do use the Care Sky drill bit, and not the drill bit, I'm sorry, the drill, and then the drill bits are just the extra fine sanding bands and a mandel bit that I use to do this process. In this part, some clients will have more cuticle to push back. I'll use this drill bit to push it back as opposed to using a cuticle pusher or even cuticle nippers, just for the sole fact that this drill bit is able to just lift that skin up back from the cuticle. That way you can get a nice clean application. So this client doesn't have any, but normally if I do see it, I will just take that extra step and get a lot closer to the cuticle than I normally would and clean that up, as far as that being a part of my prep work. Prep work is super important, getting all the oils off the nail. As we know, anything that is left on the nail before we put our primer, before we go to lay our acrylic, will affect how long our enhancements last. In keeping in mind still that this is the natural nail, I'm not trying to create etching. I'm not trying to really dig deep into the natural nail plate, because I want this client to be able to have healthy nails growing underneath her acrylics. That way, when she does take them or remove them, and whenever she is ready, the nails are still intact. The nails are still very healthy. Thinning of nails comes from over filing at this step and too much speed as far as how fast your drill is going. That damages the nail, makes the foundation of the acrylics weaker. So that's done. I use the Nail Lab extra long T coffin nail tips. She does have a lot smaller of a hand. She is a lot younger. That's why her fingers are so small. But I do end up using quite a few of the same size just for that reason, because she has a smaller hand. I use the KDS nail glue, and from then I'm just going to be going in and clipping them down to size. When sizing my tips, I go sidewall to sidewall. If they need to be trimmed, I'll trim them, but I'm never using a tip that is too small or that I have to push and force to size. I always want that tip to be naturally sitting on the nail, because we have to keep in mind, if we're having to press really hard on a nail tip, as soon as we apply our acrylic, we know our acrylic is going to take what's underneath and tighten it up. And people say shrink. Shrink isn't really the word. It just gets tighter because acrylic hardens because it's a chemical process. So allowing those tips to be perfectly fitting is a big part of your retention and your lifting, and what goes on with the few problems some nail techs typically have after the fact of doing full sets. So sidewall to sidewall, Make sure you're not having to force the tip on there. If you have to trim it down to size, that is totally fine. It's the same thing. You rather trim it down and it fit perfectly rather than trying to squeeze a tip on a finger that is too small. I cut everybody down off camera and I also prepped the nail tip and blending that into the natural nail off camera. This is going to be my primer, the Mia Secrets Extra Bond Primer. And monomer I'm using is Young Nails. Acrylic I'm using is the Valentino Basic Nude. Classic Nude, I'm sorry. Classic Nude by Valentino. At first, when I started using Valentino, I wasn't a fan. And I wasn't a fan because my skill level wasn't where the product was. And what I mean by that was I didn't know how to correctly pick up beads so that the product didn't slip and slide and run everywhere because Valentino does set relatively quick. So I feel like I hated it for a long time, but it was really just because my skill level wasn't up to where I knew how to pick up beads, how to make my beads a little bit more dry, and how to pat into place. My first bead always goes where the natural nail meets the nail tip. It will probably always go here just because that's what's comfortable for me. And I like to pick up a pretty big bead. That bead went all the way, almost all the way down to my free edge. The next bead goes right above where I placed that first bead, not at the cuticle, but it's the start of my apex. So I'm going to be going in, making sure that I pull that bead all the way to the sidewall, which I'm doing here, and then feathering out and then patting into place until it's dry. taking this bead and getting that nice dry bead at the end for me helps me get that nice square shape I like to have at the end of my sets. And this is how I do it. I place the bead at the free edge, I feather it backwards, and then I just square it off to my liking. This has changed entirely my sets because it really gives that boxy shape at the end. And from here, I'm just going to be doing the same exact thing with the rest of the fingers to the best of my ability. Um, I've really been trying to work on picking up bigger beads and allowing the bead to do the work for me as opposed to having to dip beads, pick up beads 3, 4, 5 to get the look I'm trying to achieve. Just because I do know it is very possible to get a nice clean application with 2 or 3 beads max. So I'm really just practicing my craft at this point and trying to understand my brush, my monomer, and how quickly I can work and get this acrylic laid on these nails. Showing you guys the detail of the cuticle bead and how it gets placed right above the cuticle and then pushed back into the cuticle, allowing time in between for it just to sit there because I don't want to wipe it all the way. That was a really clear representation of a cuticle bead, and just placing it right there and pushing it back. That way you don't have any flooding. That is what's going to help your retention and not have lifting a week out from your set. of full sets are so satisfying to me. I will say though, this bead I picked up was kind of running all over the place, but I was able to save it, so I'm glad for that. But this thumb came out so crisp and so clean. So you can see what I mean by kind of running. It's just wanting to spread all over the place as opposed to staying how it was staying with the rest of the nails. But it does dry out in a few seconds, so I was able to save it and it wasn't that bad. Um, I feel like this acrylic would be really good to ombre with because it gives you that faded look. Because, like, you can see right there, like, if I were to put, like, a white, it would just be so crispy and so clean. So now I'm going to be going in for my cuticle. Again, I'm placing it above and I'm building my apex first and just leaving it. I'm not really wiping away the acrylic, I'm really just wiping away at the sides. Keeping it clean so I don't have any lifting down the line when they come back. And then this bead is going to be the bead I lay at the cuticle. It's a small bead and I'm only going to put it on one side and focus on that side and push it back. And I'm just going to leave it there. That's it. Grabbing in, grabbing in, going in and grabbing another bead for the opposite side, pushing it back and leaving it there. This here is a really good example of what I mean by leaving that bead on the edge so that you're able to get a really nice boxy shape and feathering it back and just patting it into a square. And you see I'm really not trying to touch it too much. I'm waiting for it to dry out so that I can really pack it into a square. And once it's set, it just leaves the nails so crisp and so clean. Filing the nails, I'm gonna give you guys a detailed filing because I didn't realize how much filing is a science and it is a skill to it. Um, Obviously, I'm always starting with my pinky and moving my way over. I'm filing underneath to debulk. I'm filing my sides first because I want to see what my box looks like. And when I say box, like it's the acrylic basically. I'm filing the top. I'm getting that portion flat before I start touching the sides because you have to be mindful and actively conscious of what you're taking away when it comes to this acrylic. A lot of the times when I was first starting, I was just getting in there like, okay, I know I need to file, so let me just file away and see what I'm left with. But that's not really the way I look at it now that I'm a little bit more seasoned. I feel like you have to look at like where are the mistakes with how I laid my acrylic and what needs to like be erased away. That's how I look at it now. So with knowing that and knowing how to hold my file to take things away that I don't want there has changed how the end result looks for my nails. After going through that, with my hand file, I don't touch the cuticle at all. It doesn't get nearly as close as a drill bit does. And I'm always using an extra fine drill bit on my clients and sometimes even safety drill bits just for their comfort, not really for mine. So I'm going in at all of my cuticles because I did not touch them with my hand file again. And I'm just smoothing out and I'm not debulking, I'm just lightly going over just to even them all out. So I'm really just going around my cuticle and I'm not sealing the cuticle, I'm going around the cuticle. So I'm not digging where I normally would to seal the cuticle. I'm just going right on top, keeping it level, and then feathering all that acrylic down and then cleaning up underneath. Because this is a square or a coffin, that's why I'm cleaning up underneath to just get that nice curve. Flipping the hand over, this is what the clients see when they look at their nails. So I'm taking the hand file and just making them nice and even as far as the free edge and cleaning that up. And you can see how the going underneath with the drill bit makes that nice moon shape. Now I'm going to do the same exact thing on the opposite hand and get to that point with that. with my application. I'm going in with that Poochie's Nails top coat and top coating all of these fingers. And for me, that's a really good practice as far as application goes, and I'm really enjoying how clean and nice and natural these nails look at the as the end result. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe for more videos. Bye.